Hi and welcome back to doc.offcall. My name's Maddie, your doctor from the UK. Welcome back to my anime clinic, where we break down the medical science in some popular anime series. Okay, so just to give everyone a bit of an update as to what's going on in my life as a doctor, I'm living in the UK, it's snowing outside, we've just gone into a nationwide lockdown, so you can't go anywhere and you can't do anything. However, there is some light at the end of the tunnel in that we've started to deliver the first batch of the coronavirus vaccine, so fingers crossed we can get back to normal sometime soon. And since we're in the winter where colds and flus are so common, I thought there's no better anime to look at than Cells at Work. So in today's video we're going to be looking at episode 3, where the cells at work tackle influenza.
Influenza.
And next week we're going to be looking at episode 14, where the cells at work deal with the common cold. So make sure to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss out on any future videos. Alright, let's have a look at today's episode. So I love how they've started this episode off following the naive T-cell who's on patrol looking for a potential bug, and it looks like he's found one in the form of influenza. Now I really like how they've depicted the character of the naive T-cell. It's almost like an immature, inexperienced cell, which is exactly what a naive T-cell is. So it's absolute genius. Wait a minute though, that type of animation, it kind of looks familiar. It looks a bit like one of the characters from Demon Slayer. Now I don't know if the animators are the same for this, but they definitely look similar, don't they? And just in the nick of time, the neutrophil cell arrives to save the day. I remember this guy from the first episode, the one that looks like he's a Bleach character. I don't know what the significance is of his shoe getting trapped there. It seems like there's a bit of foreshadowing for something that's going to happen a bit later on in the episode, but we'll have to wait and see.
っていうか、あなたはなぜ壁から？
郵送だ。こいつらは元はただの一般細胞さ。ただ感染してしまったらしいな。
So that's interesting. It looks as though he's almost like exorcising the spirit out of the dead common cell there. And it's interesting because he's talking about how the common cell got infected by the influenza virus, and that is how influenza works. You know, the first step in its life cycle is to infect a host cell before replicating, which is an interesting way to depict it.
奴らはウイルスに感染している。
ウイルス？
ああ、インフルエンザウイルスにな。奴らはああして細胞の体に寄生して数を増やすんだ。これ以上増殖する前に殺すしかない。お前は援護。
Wow, we're learning quite a lot here about the influenza virus, aren't we? He's talking about some quite complex immunological concepts there. The main one that the neutrophil's explaining is something that we call antigenic drift, which is a characteristic of the influenza virus in that it can mutate or accumulate mutations to the point where it resembles a completely different strain of the virus, which can again become infective to the human body. Which would need a whole set of new antibodies to give future protection.
僕には無理です。ウイルスなんて。
おい。ちょっと待ってつなれよ。二人でいるから集まってきただろ。無理。
あらあら。
I know that voice. That's the voice of the macrophage. And I love how she's dragging this long hatchet. Again, that looks very suspicious of, like, you know, she's going to do a bankai or something with it. But she's a very cool character.
また？さあ、お仕事お仕事。
Oh wow. I love how they've illustrated it as though the macrophage is just having fun. And in fact, this is the role of the macrophage, you know, it's to detect phagocytose and then destroy invading organisms. So this is basically a macrophage's day job, so no wonder she's enjoying it. Oh.
これは B 型のウイルスね。こちらマクロファージです。体内に B 型のインフルエンザウイルスが侵入しているようですわ。
はい、わかりました。頑張ってください。はい、では。
Yeah, and this is another important role of macrophages. So they have a critical role to play not only in the non-specific immune response, or what's otherwise termed as the innate immune response. They also have a role to play in the more specific mechanisms of the immune system, or the adaptive immune system, in that they help to recruit other cells to fight in the battle, such as lymphocytes, which we'll see a little later on.
ヘルパー T 指令、マクロファージより抗原情報の提示ですよ。わかった。
And yes, this was the dendritic cell who the macrophage was talking to, and you can kind of imagine them as the middleman or the messenger, relaying information between immune cells. I just love the level of thought that they've given into the storytelling to include all these different cells. It's definitely becoming one of my most favourite anime out there.
樹状細胞さんを通して各機関に連絡しましたので、すぐにキラー T 細胞さんたちが応援にいらっしゃいますよ。
Alright, so I can see they've got the ball rolling here with activating the adaptive immune system. So not only are we expecting to see our T killer cells from the last episode, but we should also begin to see new characters like the B cells, who are responsible for forming antibodies to viruses like this. I can't wait to see how they're depicted.
ほらほらここか。ウイルスが嫌がるのは俺たち T 細胞が皆殺しにしてやるぜ。マクロファージさん、お疲れ様です。お疲れ様です。
お疲れ様です。
Yep, and I won't forget these guys from episode 1, the T killer cells. How could I forget that voice acting? And you know, I began to notice the voice acting in many other anime as well. I don't know if any of you guys have started watching the Promised Neverland series, but there's a character in there whose voice actor, I believe, is the same as Killua from Hunter x Hunter. And you know, despite the characters being very similar, it's so enjoyable to hear the same voice again. Oh man, I kind of feel sorry for Naive. He's getting picked on for not being brave enough. I hope he gets his time to shine a bit later on. Interestingly, little note, they're both wearing the same type of colour clothing because they are both the same cell type, so nice little attention to detail there. What? So I wasn't expecting the pink sort of fluffy diary to be kept by this macho group. But the benefit of having memory T cells are that if you've been infected by a pathogen once, you have a biological memory should it attack you again. So the next time it does, your immune response is that much quicker and effective at knocking it down, preventing it from proliferating to a point where it's really harmful. Oh, again, I feel sorry for Naive. You know, he's ran off because he's too scared to fight. Oh.
どうしたの？君、T 細胞だよね。何かあったの？あ、もしかして苦戦中なのかい？わかった。今すぐに連絡を。
Okay, so it looks like he's ran off to the middleman, the dendritic cell. And remember earlier I was saying that he helps to relay communications between cells. Well, he's also involved in activating naive cells into their sort of final form. So it'll be interesting to see how they tackle that.
あんな怖い奴らと戦えっこない。白血球さんやマクロファージさんや先輩たちみたく。そんなことないよ。ナイーブ T 細胞くん。
And this is really interesting because when I was researching this part of the episode, I found that the medical science shows that the T cells activation is completely dependent upon the intensity and the length of the interaction between the dendritic cell and the naive T cell. And it's interesting to know that the authors had that amount of foresight in trying to make the animation credible and as close as it could be to the science. It's amazing.
ほらこれ見てごらん。そう、君の先輩たちも昔は君みたいなナイーブ T 細胞だったんだよ。
Yeah.
泣いている。僕と同じだ。
And that's a great way to build up Naive's confidence, you know, showing him that there's other people that are going through what he's gone through.
まだまだいっぱいあるよ。ほら。
なんだかゾワゾワしてきた。おいどうした？ウイルスに感染したのか？
なわけあるかい。
封印していた黒い歴史が紐解かれてしまったような、そんな予感が。
And yeah, and I've noticed this in other anime series. You know, if someone's talking about something behind their back, they show the character in another place sneezing. Is that like something which is just in anime, or is that in other sort of cultures? I'm not sure.
先輩たちが君に厳しく当たるのも昔の自分と今の君を重ねてるからじゃないかな。
Hey, naive!
Yeah, and this kind of reminds me of medical training. You know, as you're going up the ranks, you tend to get challenged a lot by your seniors who kind of stretch you and see what you're capable of. And, you know, their intention is the correct one, in that they want to, you know, make sure that you become the best doctor you can be. But often when you're going through it, it's not the best feeling.
みんながいるから。
みんなが。
だから君がすべきことはわかるよね。
僕は。僕の仕事は。
And I like that line. We're all here for you, you know, and that's why it's called an immune system. You know, the whole system works because of all of the components involved in it. And I like the sentiment there and how they've made it more emotional. It's very heartwarming just to watch.
まあ、こうして T 細胞たちを元気づけ、活性化させるのも僕の仕事なんだけどね。
I like the dendritic's laugh there, but he's very self-aware for a dendritic cell. And I would say, you know, that's been a lengthy and intense enough interaction there between the two cells for him to become an activated T cell. So let's see what it looks like.
皆さん、先ほどは見苦しい姿を見せ、失礼しました。
Gosh, yes, and it looks like the immune system's taken a bit of a beating there, and just in the nick of time, this mystery figure has turned up. I'm kind of getting a bit of My Hero Academia vibes here.
しかし、僕は過去の弱い自分を克服し、活性化して帰ってきました。元ナイーブ T 細胞です。活性化してる！
So he's basically transformed into All Might from My Hero Academia. I mean, he's even got the long hair, the iconic hair, big muscles, and that entrance is so sort of classic. But now he's become the activated T cell. There's no more of that lack of confidence. It looks like he's getting ready to get the job done. Alright, who's this? Ah, okay, finally. Yeah. Alright, so, I mean, a little bit of an underwhelming entrance by the B cell there, but nonetheless, they are a really important cell involved in the adaptive immune response. They produce antibodies, but the process by which these are made is a bit longer, so they come into the game a bit longer in the battle, but let's see how effective they're going to be. Oh, come on, that move is so iconic. It's just like this. Now, is that the same voice actor as the one that does the killer T cell as well?
こうして免疫細胞たちの活躍とともに
Okay.
各細胞たちの努力と
Okay, so we already know the sneeze mechanism from episode 1. However, the high temperature can also be useful in the immune system, in that some evidence has shown that it helps to increase the activity of proteins that act on the genes responsible for turning on and off your immune system, which can be very useful.
みんなが協力し合って1週間後インフルエンザウイルスは体内から姿を消したのだった。
Yep, so that's true. So your body normally takes about anywhere between 3 to 7 days to clear up a common cold or like a flu-like illness. However, the symptoms can go on for a bit longer if you're in a vulnerable category. So people who are a bit older or those people with chronic lung infections, the symptoms can go on for up to 2 weeks, if not a little longer.
やったな。これでお前も一人前だぜ。先輩。
チェ、後半はほとんど俺のおかげじゃないっすか。交代の。
Yeah, so that is probably true. You know, the majority of the work is probably done by the B cells and the antibodies. But here, let's take this as a team victory. But I do feel good for naive T cell for pulling through.
おい、見ろよ。あそこ。
Oh no.
ウイルスだ。おいおい、また新しいのが入ってきたっぽいぞ。
Alright, so it looks like one of the influenza bugs had survived, but they should be able to make short work of it if all the immune cells are there to defeat it. Okay, so neither the antibodies nor the activated T cell are working, which must mean they're dealing with a completely different bug altogether. And I wonder whether this is that antigenic drift that we spoke about a little earlier on.
ってことは、A 型の
Oh gosh, yeah.
インフルエンザでは。
Yep, so that's the problem with influenza type A. It has the ability to mutate into a completely different strain that's unrecognizable to the host's immune system. And we call this process antigenic shift. And it's actually responsible for a lot of the sort of global pandemics of influenza. And it's really worrying when something like this happens because it leads to many vulnerable people dying.
樹状細胞さ、
Again,
こちら
yeah.
マクロファージです。今度は A 型のインフルエンザウイルスが侵入したようですわ。
Yeah. So I suspect because this is the influenza A, the host immune system is going to have to reboot itself and start the whole process all over again. And I think that's why the activated T cell has regressed back to naive T cell, because it will need to get reaccustomed with this new pathogen that's out there.
応援お願いします。はい。はいはい。いえいえ。
Why is the dendritic cell so blasé about it all? But you know, it looks like they've had to start all over again, and a healthy person will be able to overcome this form of influenza. However, if you're immunocompromised for any reason, influenza can be fatal. Now, the types of things that can lead you to becoming immunocompromised are things like being, you know, really old. Your immune system isn't as good as it is when you're a younger person, and if you're suffering from any other underlying chronic illnesses or taking medications that can lower your immune system. And this is why in the UK we offer an immunisation program for those people in a vulnerable category. And so vaccines work by inoculating the body with a weakened form of the virus so that you can build some antibodies to it, so that should you come into contact with the virus, you have some defence against it already inbuilt, so that the battle is already in your favour. Okay, so I hope you found today's video enjoyable and educational. Sorry it's a little longer than my other ones, but there's just so much to learn in the Cells at Work anime series. Now, if you did like it, please do give us a like and consider subscribing to the channel, or if you're free just now, why not come over to the channel and have a look at a few more videos like this. Otherwise, I'm really excited for Cells at Work Season 2 and the spin-off series, so look out for more videos like this. But otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.